What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Relentless Pursuit 247 podcast. Ian and I are here with you today. This is episode 5, and today we're talking about one of the biggest things that we have in our community going right now with Relentless Pursuit, and that is brotherhood. And specifically, we're going to be talking about how brotherhood really helps multiply our growth, because all the guys in the Relentless Pursuit are there to become anchored to Christ, to relentlessly pursue him, to grow as a husband, as a father, as a man of God. And one of the best ways you can do that is through brotherhood. And if you are somebody who doesn't have brotherhood, man, I'm telling you, come on over to the community. It's one of the best places you're going to find really authentic, real brotherhood. And honestly, guys, it's something that a lot of men avoid. A lot of men avoid brotherhood. They avoid the community because they are afraid. They're afraid to open up. They are afraid to be transparent. They're afraid of being judged. And you know what? It stunts your growth. It stunts your growth. It really does. And before you tune this whole thing out and you're already like, brotherhood's not for me, I'm skipping on. Hey,
hang in there.
I want you to
Stay with us.
think about just for a moment, like, this is, I'm not talking like when I say brotherhood, I'm not talking just like a group chat. I'm not talking about like that messenger style chat that you got with some guys, things like that. No. Talking about real brotherhood here. We're talking about the kind that sharpens you, the kind that calls you out or in, okay, calls you into being a better version of yourself. And the kind of brotherhood that honestly just refuses to let you drift, okay? Because one of the biggest lies that modern masculinity has sold men is this: the lone wolf is strong. It's all about the lone wolf mentality. You got to do it. Just go do it yourself. Lock in, go. It's kind of funny because I was involved with F3, and I don't know if any of you have ever heard of F3 before, but it's Family, Faith, and Fitness, and it's a organization that is, I think, worldwide at this point. And the idea is that you get together with other men outside and you do workouts together, and it's a way to form brotherhoods, form things, and it's really cool. Funny enough, my name, because everybody gets a name in F3, a name that's not like your real name, but a name that kind of like talking about who you are. Mine was Lone Wolf. And honestly, you guys, that was it hit me between the eyes. At the time, I was like, yeah, I am the Lone Wolf. I am the guy that's up here doing it all by myself and this and that. And it's like, that's not really something to celebrate. If you are that lone wolf, that just means you're lacking brotherhood. That means you are lacking those people in your lives that are going to hold you accountable. Okay, if you're the lone wolf, that means you're handling your problems alone. That means you're carrying your stress alone. That means that you have to figure out your life as I was.
Yeah.
But here's the truth, okay? Isolation doesn't make you strong. Being that lone wolf does not make you strong. It actually makes you more vulnerable. And that was something in my life that I really needed to have brought to light before I could really figure out how to grow. Because to me, it was like, oh, I'm the lone wolf, I'm good. Okay? But when you can be surrounded by people, coworkers, teammates, family, like you can be surrounded by a lot of people and still be completely alone when it comes to the weight that you're carrying. Okay. And when you carry that weight alone long enough, things start to break. They do. They really do. And so Ian and I today are just going to talk about how brotherhood is really, really important. Every guy needs a solid brotherhood, real brotherhood, and how that actually can help you grow into the man that God's called you to be. So, Ian, let's go. Let's talk about this.
Yeah. So to start off, we need to get back into why lone wolf mentality to begin with, right? Like, if brotherhood is so powerful, then why do most men avoid it? And like John said, this isn't just your, Sunday men's group WhatsApp chat. This is a deeper calling brotherhood. This is something that challenges you, pushes you, something you can get better from. And the first thing that I struggled with when growing up, because I had some friends, I had some good friends, but I always resisted and never involved myself in any sort of group or brotherhood of any type of depth whatsoever. And what I struggled with most and what we see a lot is that it's pride. And you will see that when we talk about men and manliness and struggles, pride is probably going to be at the top of that list for a bunch of things. So that says a lot. But either between pride of thinking that they already have it all figured out, and they admit that if they don't have the answers, it makes them look weak, which is not true at all. It actually shows more strength to ask for help, right? Like for me, it was I always wanted to have the answer too. I didn't need anyone's help to figure things out because I would do it. I would figure it out, or I already had the answer. And that kept me from seeking out brothers that would call me out because I didn't have the answer. Go figure. I didn't always know. And this was in my younger years, preteen, teen, early 20s. So I definitely thought had it all figured out. And I definitely didn't, as is evident by the complete train wreck of my life that I was living in. But pride also keeps men silent. It keeps us from speaking up. And it is where we internalize it and keep it all in and try to deal with it ourselves, right? Lone wolf style. That really starts to wear and tear on our mentality, on our physical life, on our spiritual life. And it's just not good to keep it all inside. So you got to be able to humbly approach a brotherhood. You got to be able to put your pride aside, and you got to be able to speak up and speak out. The second reason that we noticed a lot is that men don't like being called out. Speaking of calling out, they really don't, because multiple factors, multiple reasons. The top ones are probably along the lines of they just don't want people to know that they struggle. I actually saw a post on a Christian dad's Facebook page earlier this morning that literally said, I need someone to talk to because if I go to anyone around me with what I'm struggling with, they will ostracize me for it. And my heart immediately broke for this person. It had 60, 70 comments on it already. So I think God was really, sending some help his way. But that's the biggest thing, man, is that the guys really don't want other people to know that what they struggle with, or that they struggle in general. They don't want to share that, if you really knew the thoughts that went on inside my head, if you really knew me and what, my problems are, then you won't respect me, you won't love me, you won't accept me. So we keep things very basic. We keep things at surface level. We don't allow people to get too close. We never dive into deep conversations. We talk about work, sports, hobbies, anything to keep us distracted and other people distracted from actually digging deeper or allowing other people to ask deeper questions into our lives. But then we rarely talk about things that are actually shaping our lives, the things that are actually molding us and struggling. And that's just not a good idea. Kind of the same as a pride thing. It's something that has to be talked about. It's something that needs to have a safe space to be opened up to allow ourselves to open up and to talk about. And a good brotherhood provides just that, right? And the third reason, John and I hate this word so much, is busyness. I just don't have time to involve myself in a brotherhood. I don't have time for it. I don't have time to show up for it. That is a load of crap, because most all the time, actually, not a single one comes to mind where this hasn't been an issue that we've helped work with guys on. It just means that you haven't prioritized it. You literally have the same amount of time in the day as everyone else, and it just means you are not stewarding your time well or prioritizing brotherhood enough to make it important enough to put some time and effort into. Because we make time for things that matter, right? That are important to us. And if we are not making time for brotherhood, intentional time set aside for brotherhood, then we don't think it matters enough. We don't believe in it enough. I think I said that was the last reason. This is the last reason. It's just bad past experiences, right? People get burned, guys get burned. Groups aren't what they promised it would be, or they did open up, they did share with the group, they were vulnerable with the group, and they got shot down, they got called out, not necessarily called out, but they got attacked, they got, made fun of, some other response that did anything but love and support and help them through, right? Maybe it was a church group that just didn't, it was just all surface level stuff. You never really got any teaching or lesson out of it. Maybe it was, like I said, that men's group that maybe it wasn't even being vulnerable. Maybe it just turned into a gossip group. And or maybe it was a group that talked, a lot of big things, of a lot of things that they could offer and help with and support, and it just never happened, right? So men are very much like, we have one bad experience, and I feel like we just cut the rest of it off. Like, we immediately sever the cord. We're like, nope, we're done with this forever. And it takes us a lot to really give something a second shot, especially if we've been burned or really, really just had a bad experience with something. Um, so bad past experiences are a huge factor in this. And I encourage you, if you have had a bad past experience, please do not cut out all brotherhood. Do not think that all brotherhood groups, or just the term brotherhood in general, is like that, because it's not. If that certain groups or people are not holding brotherhood to the standard it should be, then that's on them, not you. And there are good groups such as ours out there that are actually going to support and love and encourage and follow through. But I don't know, here's the reality when it comes to men in groups, is that most men we see aren't avoiding the brotherhood because they're strong, even though that's what they want to believe. That's what they tell themselves. I can do this on my own. I'm strong enough. I can handle it. Maybe those are words you've said before, because I know I sure have. They are avoiding it because it's uncomfortable. And this is what gets so many of us to just stay complacent and stay where we're at and not grow and not seek new opportunities and not fully step into the calling God has for our lives, because it gets a little bit uncomfortable and guys don't like that. So we retreat and we want nothing to do with it. But growth doesn't happen in the comfort. It really doesn't. You have to get uncomfortable in order to grow. You have to get uncomfortable in order to get stronger. And that's just how that works. So, um, in this next section, we're going to go into what isolation actually does. Because lone wolf mentality, it sounds great, sounds hard, right? It sounds like, I'm a man, I'm a lone wolf, but it actually does more harm than good. And John will talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because here's the thing, like Ian said, right? When things get uncomfortable, what do we do as men? We're like, we don't like that. We don't want to be involved in that. Like, I don't like. I mean, there's a time where I was like, if that was going to be uncomfortable, I'm like, I'm not getting involved with that. I'm gonna retreat. I'm gonna pull myself away. I'm going to become that lone wolf, and I'm going to isolate. Okay. And here's the thing with isolation, like, it doesn't just happen overnight. It happens with little decisions that make you uncomfortable, and you get into the habit of kind of pulling away from things when they start to get a little uncomfortable or not the way that you want them to go over time. And over time, as you take on this isolation lone wolf mentality, it honestly destroys you. It's really what it does. It erodes you slowly over time. It's not just something that happens in the moment, like boom, 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 done. No, it's not how that works. But when you isolate yourself, what it does is it actually creates this distorted thinking in your own mind. Because when you become alone, think about it. If you've ever been alone for a period of time, think about it. What do?
Mm.
You are alone with your thoughts. And if you're if you're someone like me, I don't like to be alone
No,
with my thoughts that long.
it's
It's
not a
a
good idea.
dangerous place to live. I'll be honest. And I know I have a lot of good brothers, and I'm going to get serious for a second here. Like, that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants you isolated. The enemy wants you alone, because that is when you are most vulnerable to lust, most vulnerable to whatever temptation the enemy is ready to throw at you. When you are alone with your thoughts long enough, you start maybe believing things that aren't necessarily true. Okay, so small frustrations that maybe you were having with your bride now all of a sudden become huge. Those temporary struggles that maybe you're battling feel like they're permanent. Like, now they're actually part of your identity. Instead of just being like, oh man, I struggle with lust, now you're telling yourself, yeah, I'm just a lustful man. It's like two different ways of thinking about it. But I mean, truly, if you're somebody who's isolating yourself and only with your own thoughts 24/7, that's what happens. Okay. If you don't have other brothers or other people speaking truth into your life, your perception and your perceptive slowly drifts away from the truth that God says about you. Okay. And isolation also allows for hidden habits to start growing. Because think about it, when you are alone, sometimes we get bored. When we get bored, we don't always make the best decisions. And that might be times when those habits that we don't think about when we're in the hustle and bustle of life all of a sudden start to take hold. Okay. Things that would be challenged maybe immediately in the presence of brothers. Maybe it's that channel on your TV that you know is there that you really shouldn't go on, but because you're alone, like, hey, no one's going to catch on. And maybe it's like, maybe I'm going to check it out for a few minutes without having people in your life who are going to challenge you immediately. It becomes that much more tempting. Okay. And it's like these are the different habits. This could be a feelings of bitterness or resentment, or like I said, those secret struggles like lust or pornography or things like that. And over time, you guys, like isolation normalizes the things that honestly shouldn't be normal. The things in our life that should not become habits. Okay. Because what's going to happen is you're going to start normalizing things like irritability. You're going to start normalizing being emotionally distant at home. You're going to normalize being that father who's in the house with their family, but not really present. Okay. And you're going to start normalizing feeling numb, just not having any feeling, just being like, okay, this is normal, whatever. I'm going to come home from work. I'm going to kick my feet up on the couch with a beer, with the TV. Kids are going to be playing in the background. Wife's going to be making dinner. And you're there, but not really there. And that's going to become normal because you've isolated yourself from your family. And eventually that drift that's inside your home is going to trickle into all areas of life. It's going to trickle into your work environment. It's going to trickle into your church if you're somebody who goes to church. It's going to start showing up everywhere in your leadership, marriage, in your discipline. But honestly, guys, here's the truth. Isolation makes small problems. Think of it like a little monster, right? Who you've isolated with. It's all of a sudden becomes this massive monster. Because when you isolate yourself, it makes little things grow. Okay. And that's just what it is. Isolation is really detrimental to a man and things like that. And this is not just something that is new. This is not just something that happens in today's culture because we're in the hustle culture and we can't be isolated, things like that. No, isolation actually goes back to biblical time. There's actually parts of scripture that talks about the importance of brotherhood and kind of the dangers of isolation for long periods of time. And I know Ian's going to talk a little bit more about kind of like the biblical side of things here.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that everything we do and bring to you guys is rooted biblically first, right? These aren't just topics and things that are coming off out of our heads for no reason. Even though we are passionate about these topics, these are also things that we find biblically that we are called for and encouraged in. So scripture is clear about this. One of the verses being Ecclesiastes 4:9-10, which talks about two are better than one, because if one falls, then then one can help the other up, right? It's a reality that every man is going to fall at some point. It's not an if, it's a when. So wouldn't it be better when you do fall if you had a brother or two or six or 100 or whatever the case may be to help you get back up on your feet? Because let's even be honest, even if you can get yourself up on your feet the first few times, you continue to fall, it'll continue to get harder and harder and harder to get back up on your own until you just can't anymore. Brotherhood isn't about even just picking you up when you fall, which is a big part of it, but it's also like, hey, let's help you get stronger so you don't fall really nearly at all or nearly as much as you used to, right? You gotta have those brothers close enough to help you back up. If you keep everyone at a distance and try to do it yourself, eventually you will not be able to get back up, and then you will be stuck wondering how you got there in that place. There's also this one. This one is used all over the place. many groups and men's groups and everything use this, so I'm sure you're familiar with it. Proverbs 27:17 that says, iron As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Clear call to brotherhood, or having people close to you to be able to help grow and shape, and just be there and do life with. Because when it talks about sharpening, sharpening things require that friction, right? They require tension and roughness, right? Not in a bad way, but it's to grow and to shape, right? Because real brotherhood isn't just about encouragement, it's about challenging you to be better, challenging you lovingly when you wander off a little bit. It's about having that accountability and someone that's man enough, and bold enough to look you in the eye and say, "Hey dude, you're messing up. That's not who you said you wanted to be. That's not who God is calling you to be. Let's make some changes and get back on the right path," right? Leading into a verse in James 5:16 says, "Confess your sins to one another and pray for one another so that you may be healed." There's something very important there that we need to latch on, is that healing begins with honesty and confession. You cannot heal if you do not confess what you want to be healed from, right? Can't hold on to it and keep holding on to it and be like, "No, I'm going to keep this real close. I'm going to keep this in," and then expect to be free from it. Freedom grows in the light of confession. And we do that to what? We can't do that. I mean, we can do that to God, obviously, right? But here he's talking about to one another, to a group of people, to each other, having that person or those people close enough that you can trust to go to confess. And then in turn, they lead you in prayer together so that God can start the healing process in your life. So that's some biblical context there. And yeah, that's it for me in my section.
No, man, that's good. I mean, because there is so much in Scripture. There is so much in there that talks about just the importance of it all. And I like how you said, no, I just like all of it. I do. I just like all of it. It was something, like I said, I needed in my life when a time that I didn't know what. And it took God really presenting with me some men in my life who I didn't even know I needed, that now have become thicker than brothers. It's the guys that are going to carry my casket when I die. That's really what it is. And it's not just because there's guys in my life, it's because of how real they can be. Right? Because honestly, true biblical brotherhood is real. It's not surface level. It's not something that you talk about your golf handicap or your bowling handicap and your sports games that are going to be going on that night. It's a lot deeper than that. And for some of us, that might make us uncomfortable right now just thinking about that. Like, whoa, we got to talk about something other than the weather. We got to be talking about something other than what happened last week on the golf course. It's like, yeah. True brotherhood's going to say, dude, how are you doing with that porn addiction? Whoa, what? True brotherhood is going to be saying, hey, how are you serving your bride lately? How are you showing up in your marriage? Like, what? That's not your problem. It's like, actually it is. And that's what real brotherhood is going to look like. Okay. So if like the biblical scripture gives us the foundation, it's like, what now does this truly look like? Because it's not just hanging out. It's not just watching games together. You can do that. And I would highly recommend, obviously, getting together and doing things together in fellowship, and watching the games can be great fun. But that's not all of it. If that's where it stops, you're missing a lot of the blessings and the gifts that true brotherhood can provide. Okay. Real brotherhood starts with honesty. Honesty is huge, guys. Men that are willing to say what's going on in their lives, and not just the stuff you see on Facebook, not the polished version. I could go online and look at a lot of my guy friends on there, and guess what? I'm going to see what they want me to see, which is 99% of the time the good things that are happening. You're not seeing the things that are the real version of that person. So you need men who are going to be real, guys that are going to show you the things that are hidden in the closets in their lives, not just the things on the surface. If you are hanging out with guys when the number one answer you get from them when you say, hey, how are you doing, is doing good, that's not a real brotherhood. I hate to break it to you. It's not.
I mean,
A
it's
guy
like,
you go up to, hey, man, what's going on? Oh, not much. That's great. Okay. That's not it. Okay. Real brotherhood includes some standards too. Not just encouragement. Encouragement is great. You want people to be encouraging, but you also want guys that are going to hold you accountable. One of the best things I love about, the group of guys that I pace life with every day, which Ian is a part of, is the fact that we do hold each other accountable. We hold each other standards. If we don't hear from each other over a couple of days, guess what? You're getting a text message on the side or a phone call saying, "Are you okay? What's going on?" It's not like you to be like that. It's not like you to be ghosting a little bit or, being distancing and isolating. We hold each other accountable because we've set these standards for what it means for us as men to pace life together. Okay. If you have guys in your life who are only cheering for you when you do great things, but never actually challenging you to become better, that's not sharpening, guys. That's just a cheerleader. You've got yourself a bunch of cheerleaders in your life, which is great. Don't get me wrong. You want some encouragement, but don't you also want to grow? Don't you also want to step into that real calling that God has for you? In which case, you need men. You need other men who are going to challenge you, who are going to help sharpen you. And sometimes, guess what? To get sharpened means there's got to be some friction sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have brothers who might need to get in your face, rattle your cage, kick you in the groin, whatever it is. But if it's done in love, as Ian was talking about, like from a biblical perspective here, like if it's done with a heart for God and a heart of love, then that's only going to help you grow and sharpen you as you get as you grow. And one other thing that real brotherhood really needs is consistency. It's not that brother you check in with once every 6 months and be like, "Hey man, how's it going? How's the fam? Cool, kids are growing. Awesome, cool. Talk to you in 6 months." That's not real brotherhood. I hate to break it to you. I do have those friends. Don't get me wrong. I have those friends in my life. I think we all do. We have those guys that, like if you're talking to someone else, be like, "Oh yeah, I got a good friend out this way." It's like, okay, but if I were to ask you how often are you connecting, it's probably once every 6 months or a year or 5 years, whatever. If it's real brotherhood, guys, it's regular contact. I'm not saying it has to be multiple times a day, like I bug Ian, but it could be. He's like, he laughed, but he knows it's true.
I enjoy
It's
it.
very much true. But it is regular contact. Once a week, once a day, whatever it is, whatever works for you and your group, but it's gotta be regular. It's gotta be regular check-ins, regular investment into each other. And one of the other things in there that real brotherhood really needs is mutual leadership. What that means is that it's an equal party thing. Like people are both pouring into each other. This is not a spectator thing. This isn't like my buddy being over here in the bleachers just cheering me on again as I'm trying to lead. It's like, no, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. We don't want just one guy sharpening another. Each guy has got to sharpen the other. Okay. That's, with the guys that I pace life with, I'm going to talk about this to like no end, but we are constantly working with each other, helping each other, praying for each other, sharpening each other, because in that, everyone grows. Everyone is challenged. Everyone leads in their own way, shape, or form. I love my brothers so much because they all have different gifts and talents, and we get to bring them all to the table. And when we do that, we all get to grow because there are things that my buddy Chris is really good at that I am not. And when he pours into me with his gifts, it strengthens mine that are not as strong. It allows everybody to lead in the way that they do. And that, you guys, really helps you grow as a man for God. And that's what Ian's going to get into here in just a second.
Yeah, because there's a when you surround yourself with other men, right? When you surround yourself with brothers, a brotherhood, a close knit friendship who share the same standards as you do, then there is something that God does that is just so powerful that it literally makes everyone be like, "Oh, this is what I was missing. Oh shoot, should have joined something like this a long time ago," right? Because when you're around someone and a group of people who are growing with you and have the same, like I said, standards, then any type of drift gets caught early on. John was saying that, you have friends that like the second you take a step off the narrow path, your friends are like, "Hey, what are you doing? Get your mind right. Focus on what you're doing. Time to get back on track." They catch the small issues before they become big ones because you're doing life with these people, whatever that looks like, right? But you're doing life with this group of men and you are completely open to them. They're completely open to you. Any excuses you have, They don't last. They don't survive because men are love you enough to call you out. You love them enough to call them out. Because someone is always there, willing to do the hard things, start the hard conversation, call other men out when maybe the rest of us are a little too timid or kind of second guessing if we should or not. I don't know. It's just an area. So I don't know what's up in my throat today. Struggling. It's just blind spots get exposed. Vulnerability is key in brotherhood. I know guys don't like that word vulnerability, but it is. We all need someone to be able to look in our lives like that and call out our blind spots because we all have them. Call out our weak spots. We all have them. Call out the areas that we drift because we all drift, right? So that is why brotherhood is so important and why it helps us grow. Because other men can look into our lives from the outside and see what we can't necessarily see in ourselves. But it's not only about calling things out and like challenging and pushing and growing, right? It's also about getting celebrated. It's also about when you do something great, when God does something great in your life, when you hit a milestone, when your family grows, whatever happens, that win that you get to share with your brotherhood, there is just such a feeling of other guys coming beside you, cheering you on, patting you on the back, just shouting your name from the rooftops and praising God for everything He's doing in your life. It just swells up inside you and your confidence soars through the roof. Your leadership gets sharpened because you're like, yes, I am where I am supposed to be. So I am going to put even more effort into this now, into myself now. You can you can grow alone in those areas. But let me tell you this, guys, as someone who has spent probably close to a decade trying to do it on my own, you can grow. You just won't grow very far, if at all. It might be a an illusion of growth, if anything, because we need those men to speak into our lives, to call us out when we start to drift, to call us up when we win. Brotherhood multiplies that growth just hundredfold, and it's just that feeling of accomplishment, that feeling of yes, I belong here, I am where God wants me to be, I'm stepping into the calling He has for my life. That just, when a good brotherhood gets amplified so loud. So as always, we have practical challenge. Good Lord Almighty, I should have brought a drink with me that I'm going to let John do because apparently my throat is not agreeing with me and he's trying to trip me up.
You need your coffee.
It's that I do need to go make some more coffee. I had a little
Yeah.
ice drink to kick it
Uh,
up, but that's not sticking around for whatever reason. Jeez.
so Ian says, yes, we like to give everybody practical thing because it's one thing to talk about this for half an hour. It's another to be like, okay, Ian and John, you've basically hit me between the eyes. You've kicked me in the groin. You've told me that, okay, I need brotherhood. I don't have the guys in my life that I need to really grow. How do I do this? Uh, well, don't wait for the perfect community, guys. It's not out there.
No.
Actually, wait, it is. Sorry, Relentless Pursuit. Come join our
No,
community.
we're
But I
not
mean, there's
perfect.
just that. There's a small shameless plug for that.
We're not perfect.
But I'm just saying that was a nice little segue into that. But no, seriously, guys, everybody I believe probably has some guys in their life that you probably enjoy time with. They're probably good brothers. They've probably been friends you've been with for years. Start with one guy this week. Okay, identify that one person that you're like, you know what? I would like to have real brotherhood with this person. Because maybe it's been surface level for years, and you're just like, okay, I really need a deeper brotherhood than what I got. So start with one guy this week, one guy that comes to mind, and I want you to call him, not text him, not shoot him a WhatsApp message, not just send him a Facebook message. I want you to call him. Okay. And yes, before you like get all weirded out, guys call guys. They do. Guys can call guys and it not be weird. It's okay. Doesn't have any other connotations to it. Guys can call guys. I want you to take the action first. Okay. If you're going to wait till he calls you, you'll probably be waiting for 20 years. So take action, call that guy. And I want you to be honest with him about one struggle that you are currently having. Okay. It could be something as simple as, you just are at your wits end with your son because he is just at that age and really pushing every limit, and you don't know what to do because you're going to absolutely go off the deep end. Be honest with that struggle, you guys. It could be that porn addiction. It could be that substance thing that you got going on. It could just be, you're really nervous and worried about your finances right now. Be honest in that conversation. And then together, set that standard. Set that thing that's going to help keep you accountable. If it is, let's say that kid, that child of yours who is pushing your buttons, set the standard of, hey, from now on, when I start to get like I'm going to lose it, I am going to go take a quick 2-minute break. I'm going to go spend some time with God. I'm going to pray on it. I'm going to take some deep breath before I come back into the conversation and explode. Okay, maybe if it is the thing with lust or pornography, maybe it's going to be that, hey, anytime temptation sets into my life, I'm going to give you a quick text message, or I'm going to give you a quick call and tell you that Satan is knocking on the door with that temptation, and I need a brother who's going to talk to me in love and help me through that moment. Set that standard and schedule a regular check-in. Like, again, it could be every week, it could be every other day, it could be, don't let it go more than 2 weeks. Don't let it go more than 2 weeks, because at that point, then it's not regular. Try to shoot for once, at worst every 2 weeks. Try to make it weekly. But here's the thing, don't overcomplicate it, guys. Us as men, we like to overanalyze things, and don't overcomplicate this. Keep it simple. Share a struggle, set a standard, schedule that regular check-in. Because brotherhood begins with just one honest conversation. That's all it takes. All you got to do is, like all the water up against the dam, all you got to do is just take that first little knock on it. Okay? Start to break open that dam just a little bit at a time, and you'll be surprised when you go first and are honest and vulnerable and transparent. It gives the other guy permission to do the same. And most of the time, they will follow suit. And if they don't, that's not the guy that was meant to walk in brotherhood with you, in which case we can find another guy. Okay? Took me a long time, guys, to find some men that I could be really real and transparent and vulnerable with. And now I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I know Ian's got Miss Anya. But I'm going to leave you guys with this here
Yeah,
as we
she's
close
she's
up.
not happy, so you'll have
That's a
to.
great noise. I love that. I was like, man, she's so quiet, not realizing you were on mute. But I'm going to leave you guys here with this. The strongest men I know are not the most independent. They're not the biggest lone wolves. They're not those kind of guys. They're actually the strongest men I know are the ones that are most accountable. They're the guys that seek out that accountability, that seek out that brotherhood. Because if you are trying to lead your family, which I think as men we all are trying to do, we're trying to shepherd the family that God has given us. If we're trying to build discipline into our family and our kids, if we are trying to fight temptation because we know it's knocking on every door and it's around every corner, but if you're trying to follow God completely alone, you are carrying more than you were designed to carry. God did not design you to carry everything. He designed you for community. He designed you for brotherhood, accountability. There's a reason why he talks about a yoke when he talks about take my yoke upon you. About, like, and because the idea here is that two people are yoked together. And the same thing goes for brotherhood. We are meant to be yoked together with other brothers that we can go through life with, because that takes a lot of the burden off of our shoulders independently and puts it on each other so that we can walk through things together, you guys. That's really what it's all about. Brotherhood does not make you weaker. It actually makes you harder to break. It really does. So if you want to continue to grow and thrive as a man God has called you to be, it starts with brotherhood. It starts over here at the Relentless Pursuit. I know there's other great communities out there too, but if you are a guy who is looking for a community, looking for accountability, looking for real brotherhood, guys, come check us out. Come check us out. But until next time, stay anchored, be relentless.